Okay, the time is now 7 o'clock. I'd like to call this Town of Plainfield Board of Selectmen meeting for June 22nd to order at 7 p.m. I ask you to please rise for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And roll call.
Mike Supran.
Cunningham.
Tom Sinkowitz.
Item C, to approve the meeting minutes from the Board of Select meeting on 6/8/2026.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from 6/8/26. I'll second that.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, item D, which is public comment. Is there anybody here from the public that wishes to speak?
I have you first.
Good evening, Board of Selectmen. My name is Trev Harmon. I live in Moosoc. I want to talk today about the blight ordinance. I would like to make a note up front. This ordinance in its current form is wrong. All of it. Well, almost all of it. The only two legal things are in it are the definition of the Connecticut General Statute and its title. Everything pretty much is illegal, prohibited, or has case law against it, and I'm going to explain why. I do a lot of security and compliance work, so I did the homework on this. I brought a redraft that makes legal sense and complies with general statutes. The case law and what other towns have already done. First, let me be clear that I am not against real blight. About a year ago, a multi-story residential building in downtown was so unsafe that the sides had fallen in. It was a genuine emergency. It was demolished, cleared, and eventually covered over with gravel. Perfectly acceptable. That is what real authority looks like, and that's what this ordinance is supposed to be for. But notice the reason we acted. It was about safety out of real danger. Now compare that to a problem presented last time, a property that looked unsightly. I understand that it bothers some people, but according to the law, ugly lawns aren't illegal. And here's why. I read the ordinance line by line. It lists exactly what blight is, hazards to health and safety, collapsing buildings, junk and dead vehicles, scrap and garbage, overgrown that blocks the sidewalk, a road sign, and graffiti. Read all of it, and you will not find the words ugly, unsightly, messy. A front yard with kids and toys and grass that needs to be cut is not blight. It's a family living in their home. Here's the danger. This draft was written so loosely with lines like threat to the general welfare as determined by the officer. That one person's opinion that took a yard looks bad becomes a violation. That is not a standard, that is taste. And this draft fines that family up to $100 a day before anyone tells them how to fix it. And it's not just my opinion. In South Windsor versus Lanata, a Connecticut court threw out the town's blight enforcement because it had no proper notice. Completely gone. In Grayland versus Rockford, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that law letting an officer decide by personal opinion is unconstitutional. The evidence is in the draft and breakdown. The redraft does three simple things. It requires written notice, time to fix the problem before any fine. It lets the town actually clean up or take down a dangerous property and bill the owner exactly like the building a year ago. And this defines blight by real conditions, real hazard, not just by looks. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak?
Robert Smith, Plainfield. So on the first one concerning the $500,000 for the Plainfield medical account, I don't know much about that. I was just at the Board of Finance and they're waiting for a notification from the attorney on what to do with that. Second, on the covenants framework, capital improvement policy, it seems that that's pretty much covered in 10.5 of the charter and how to include it in the budget. But I seem to short of breath. I am. I'm missing a bit along. I might be a little short of breath. So that seems to be there, and there's inclusion into the budget. So to defer from that would mean a charter change. I don't think the policy should override that in any fashion. Secondly, going back, we have non-reoccurring. That would be in 10.2G, where it says the Board of Finance shall revise the estimates as it deems desirable and prepare recommendations for the town budget, which may include contingency fund not to exceed 2%, blah, blah, blah. And appropriation to the reserve fund and for capital and non-recurring expenditures. So that seems to already be in there. To expound on that, again, I would probably do something in the charter instead of doing the policy. And lastly, procurement policy. This is also listed in the charter, and that would be under 9.5B, where the Board of Finance annually shall set the amount for which the sealed bids will be required. So that pretty much sets the amount that would be on procurement policy. So that even the old policy is not correct to go with the chart. So you can have a procurement policy, you just can't set an amount that has to be set by the Board of Finance annually. And that's it for me. I have nothing to say on the roll.
Anybody else?
I was wondering if the board
Could you
was,
just for the record, just to let your name.
my name is Heather Brisson.
Thank you.
I was wondering if the board was going to address the additional veterans tax exemption.
Okay.
I don't know if, no?
It's not on the agenda tonight? No.
So the board isn't tracking it, or nothing that I brought forth before to any individual one of you? If you guys aren't working on it, haven't looked into it?
Sometimes we give updates under other business. I don't know if we'll have any updates later on that.
If you would, you can see me afterwards, we can talk about it, but I did reply to you saying that we would be looking at it through the eyes of the assessor, the finance director, tax collector, and coming up with something from other towns and how they do it. We have 4 or 5 of them also given to us from town attorney, and we're looking into a process of how we'd be able to bring that forward. So we're working on it.
Okay, I was just confused, because if you were working on it, I don't see why you wouldn't have it on your agenda.
Well, and I'm not going to go back and forth, but I would say that we have a lot of things that we do all the time that we don't put back on the agenda back and forth. So we were working on it, and when we come to that point, we'll bring it forward to the public.
And I think the last time we spoke on it, we spoke about we wanted to find out what the financial impact of that was. Because that's obviously probably one of the most important things also.
The financial impact of it can be implied, like the town can put a cap on it. You know, so it doesn't even have to affect the town after, because initially it doesn't cost the town anything. You could just pass it just for the spouses.
And absolutely, I 100% support that. It's just we have to know everything that goes with it, the financial impact, and do it the right way in the first way, so we don't get into troubles and problems like the blight ordinance.
You just see my frustration that this is been something that's been been passed since 2004.
I think both selectmen, Tom Shinkowitz and I have talked to Kevin about this numerous times, and he knows that this probably wants to be on, we want it on the forefront also. We have you, and we also have the fire department's tax exemption. So both of those are on the forefront. We just got to get our ducks in a row and have to make sure it's legal.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak tonight on public? Hearing none, we can go into the new business. Item 1, F1, because there is no old business. F1 is to discuss an act on closing the Plainfield medical account. This is still in discussion with the Board of Finance. I think they had a meeting the other night that talked about it. I wanted to give a little bit of background on medical account. So I gave you a copy of things that happened in 2008. It started in 2007. Actually, before that, I had met with David Whitehead, who was the chair CEO of the Bacchus Hospital. They had mentioned that they wanted to come into town. They wanted to put an ER in, and I'd asked him if he would consider putting his toe in the water, so to speak, if he wanted to come in as Bacchus and have access to an office for the doctors. He looked at our facilities and thought it would be a fair market value to purchase. And by the time we got to the actual town meeting, you can see in front of you, talking about that said town meeting on January 15th. There is some minutes here for it as well. And it was motioned to do the sale of $389,000 to interested William Bacchus for that real estate. So, moved to a town meeting. The issue really was that there was never the follow-up and a proper motion to be made of what to utilize that money for. And normally when you put the money into a reserve account, you would say we're going to be earmarking the money for, I'll just use an example, for a library. So that motion was never made to earmark monies for something to be put into reserved account. So unfortunately, without that, you can't really do anything with it. It just sits there. The 389 now is turned into $581,000 because of the interest earned.
Right, because it's here not earmarked, we have to move it back into the general, correct?
Correct. That's the intent. It would be for us to close it, let the Board of Finance and do what they want to do with it and move forward. There's also questions from that meeting also about how there's no documentation on a lot of things. We look back and try to figure out what's going on, but I gave you that quick letter as to what happened. Moving forward, trying to provide fund accounting by the finance director, and so Lisa, the finance director, has also met with the town attorney, and so have I. We discussed the process and try to provide an action so we can go properly to transfer the accounts into the general fund, and as well as closing certain accounts, this one being one of them. So there are instances where municipalities have to follow a process, have the Board of Selectmen vote for the transfer of the funds by way of a vote, and then allow the Board of Finance the opportunity to do the same. The reason we're looking to close the Plainfield Medical is formally close inactive funds that are no longer serving their original purpose. In this case, they never had a purpose. So Plainfield Medical Center it is a STIF account that's been allocated via reserve account, but has never been active. We had a designation of what to use the money for. Lisa reviewed this issue with the town auditor, Kyle, and he agrees that with our assessment of how to resolve the closure of the account. At this time, it would be a request, which we did verify with the town attorney, that we, the Board of Selectmen, will look to formally close the account and then have that as an agenda item, which we have. Then for the Board of Finance to have their meeting to allow them to review the issue, and hopefully they can do the same, authorizing these to close the account, putting that money into fund balance. So that's, I think I concluded with you some of the other accounts, because I mean, she did some work on trying to figure out what was going on and did the presentation to the Board of Finance. Used to be all these different accounts. Now she would like to be able to put them, but we're starting with this one. And I think on the back of that multicolored page, it talks about how the actions will be done. So there's over 600, I think 650 plus $1,000 worth of money eventually would go back to fund balance.
Kevin, are we working to get, I know you said verified by the town attorney, are we getting that in writing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do we know when that will be?
Hopefully this week.
Okay.
Yeah, and we can possibly have a special meeting just to talk about that one item for the Board of Finance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we can do our motion, so it'll be pending whatever they do with it, because really just what we're doing is closing the account, period. And then it brings it to the Board of Finance for them to do it. We're not losing any money, the money is basically there, it's just a matter of.
Yeah, no, and I have a feeling based on, the meeting, and I also had a chance afterwards to talk to Lisa personally, and I talked to some members of the Board of Finances. The key is once we get that letter from the town attorney, and it pretty much reiterates, we'll just assume what you had just said and what Lisa had said, like, I don't think in the end there'll be an issue with closing, and putting money back into the general fund. It's just kind of the order of steps, is they made it clear at the Board of Finance meeting that they didn't want to take any action on it until they physically have that, in writing.
Right. You can do this via a motion to close the account pending upon the Board of Finance's decision. That way, that step is already done, and they can just move.
Yeah, it just seems like it's more housekeeping to me, and I don't have a problem with it. I know the Board of Finance wants a legal opinion on it.
Yep.
Fine with also.
We'll be getting that hopefully this week, and.
Can you make sure that Mike and I get a copy?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'll share that with you, I'll share that with the Board of Finance, everybody will see it.
So you good with that, Tom?
Yeah.
You want to make a motion?
Yep, so make a motion to move forward the process for closing Plainfield Medical account pending the letter from the town attorney that will be provided to the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance.
I'll second that motion, Tom.
Just to be clear with what the item was, just making sure. I think in Lisa's,
On the front page?
no, you know what it was? She'd given this to the Board of Finance, but I want you to know what we're looking at for numbers. So authorize the transfer of the entire account eventually to the general fund for $583,084.36, and then any of the interest received in July also be transferred.
So it looks like she put down here, there's a total for $629,365.88.
That's for all,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and I'll show you that. That's the stiff of medical,
Yeah.
and then the interest included.
Yep.
Because it's earning money very quickly, so. All right, we can do that. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Thank you very much. Discuss an act on the, what did I say, twice, discuss an act and discuss an act, okay. On the roles, responsibilities of capital governance framework. First one is capital improvement policy, if we want to read through and discuss that. And Lisa's done a good job of putting things in step-by-step order. These are so initially there were 5 policies. We have voted on a couple already. But the capital improvement policy, CNR policy, we've already voted on town road, and the updated procurement. So it defines the roles of the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance. It doesn't insert the charter, it just talks about our roles within all of this. Anticipated items in here, looking at the framework. You've read this, you've had it for a while. I guess the question would be, if you had questions to Lisa, did you reach out to her about any of these?
Yeah, I just have one concern, which is just, when we're talking about the capital improvement, is just with the committee that we have, of course, formed. I know the last meeting I went to was rough because for whatever
Well, this
reason.
is different. Capital improvement.
Well, I know, but this, of course, works with the committee, meaning that they go hand in hand. So that's my only concern is, I reviewed it, but I do have concerns about just the lack of support that the committee has been, getting, and that, of course, pertains to capital improvement projects, which is what their focus is, what they have to be working on.
Well, I think also, I know I received a call this week asking if I would attend Thursday night's meeting. I don't know if both of you can.
We can't. I'll get to that in a second.
Okay. All of us.
Yes.
Okay. I already know where you're going.
Yep. So it gives a definition of the capital improvement project, and this is at least a 5-year project, talking about the physical land acquisitions, non-recurrence nature for that. So the overall framework of this, what is your thought on the framework of what this says?
I think the overall framework is okay. The concern is where the Board of Selectmen, and maybe that means more of the 3 of us. The problem is I haven't heard from Mike anything that he's been asked to do, and I know you haven't asked me personally of anything to do with what needs to be done to support the committee, and that would be part of our role as a Board of Selectmen, is when we put together a board, in this case that's for capital strategic planning, which again is for capital improvement, again go hand in hand, even though they may be separate policies. What has to be done to deliver in a timely manner what the committee needs. And so I think we need to define maybe that a little bit more as far as our role as a Board of Selectmen, because what I've done is I've spent a lot of time outside of meetings. Not only have I gone to a majority of those committee meetings, I've talked to the individual committee members and I'm like, what do you need? Where do we stand? And it seems that there's been some disconnect there. And I don't know if it's they're waiting to hear from Lisa, if they're waiting to hear from you personally. It's one of those things that it's like, I don't think there's a need to point fingers as far as who's trouble. I think we just need to address it. Just, let's get it done. Because the concern is with the RFP.
That was the biggest.
There's been inconsistency reports I've gotten with the RFP. I know you have answered us on the record here where we stand with the RFP, but then when I asked the chair, as far as have you gotten any recent updates or correspondence, the answer was no. And so the inconsistency there just doesn't make sense. Why is the chair telling me no, or the vice chair, that they haven't gotten anything updated since this initially was a concern, but you said that there have been between you and them. So it's just things like that it's like maybe we would need to distribute the responsibilities, differently. If you can't keep up with them personally, that's fine. I know you have a lot on your plate, but I just think our role as a board of selectmen needs to be definitely more clearly defined when it pertains to the committee, because in the end, the recommendations that they make are going to be for capital improvement for this town. And we need to, of course, support them as a board of selectmen. We appointed them. And we're also working hand in hand with the board of finance, because at the end of the day, they're our governing body of finances. So that's really my only concern. I know what the ultimate goal is here. Obviously this is information that would be available to the public for them to better understand it, so they can pull up this policy and be able to see, okay, so the committee should be on a roll. They should be boom, 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 after every meeting. There shouldn't be certainly any standstills, because the role of the board of selectmen is to support that committee and get them their needs and their updates.
I hear what you're saying. Let me fill you in on a couple of things. Number one, take a look at the bottom of page 1. It says land and property acquisitions, and below that it talks about the equipment, park improvements, IT infrastructure, planning feasibility studies. In my opinion, you don't put that all on the shoulders of that subcommittee, that capital strategic committee. That is other things that are going on. I did speak to Peggy. I spoke to her today. I got verification of the RFP that she wants. I showed it to her, handed it to her. She verified it. All we're doing is putting dates on it right now, and tomorrow it'll be up. So it's all good to go. Put it up online.
Okay.
So I just couldn't get to it last week. I was out on vacation, so.
And I'll agree that capital strategic improvement isn't a broad brush. They have marching orders that we want to look into, come back and report. And that's who reached out to me, is Peggy asked me to come to the next one, so I guess we'll discuss that.
Yeah. But this is a different, view of what a capital improvement policy is. I think that it covers all the steps that we're looking to do. It isn't specifically earmarked to the capital strategic committee.
Now, towards the end, it says, this policy shall be jointly reviewed by the Board of Finance, first selectman, and the finance director.
So minimum once every 3 years. Yep. I mean, things change. Let's say, hypothetical, you have a review after the RFP comes in. We have someone who actually bids on the RFP, and then they go out and do the work. We get all that material back. That committee and the town looks at this and says, okay, here's our priorities, 1 through 5. Because it also has to do with money related to if you have to work a bond for any items. So you may have a change of that later on. You may find something that doesn't quite jive anymore, and so you can readjust.
Yeah, it's just when thinking about policy adoption, it's like, we've gone back and forth a little bit, obviously in multiple meetings, we've been talking about this for a while, but what was the recommendations of the Board of Finance as far as the initial draft? And did you receive any recommendations?
Initial draft of this?
Yeah, this policy. Yeah.
This is not their policy, this is a Board of Selectmen's policy.
Well, as far as getting input, I'm well aware of who makes the actions without policy. But we don't necessarily just operate in a vacuum when we adopt our policy, we get input. So that's why I'm asking that question of, did you get any suggestions? Did you talk to any Board of Finance members about that?
2, but nobody got back to me on any issues that they had with this.
Okay.
What are you looking for, Tom? I personally really don't have a problem with it. It's going to be revisited, it's going to be changed every 3 years or updated or whatever else. I don't see a problem with it as long as we figure out something tonight to support the capital strategic committee.
Yeah, no, that was pretty much everything.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the capital improvement policy as presented,
I'll second that. And any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I will abstain.
Thank you. Motion carries. Capital non-recurring fund policy. This is something that was discussed during the budget season. They would like to have it called, well, I guess there's multiple names to it, but capital non-recurring also is discussed in the charter. But this gives us more body to what it is. It's a policy that we can follow if we want to. So you're looking to accumulate some expenditures, some resources to expend if needed. So the scope is policy governs receipts, appropriations, accounting, and expenditures of monies within the capital non-recurring. CNR is separate and is distinct from the general fund or the town road fund or any other special revenue or capital projects. The objective here is that the capital non-recurring, providing predictable funding sources for capital improvements, reduces reliance on debt for moderate cost capital items, stabilizes annual capital spending, improves long-term financial planning, promotes transparency and fiscal. You go to the town charter, states it right there, it's in 11.4, and in other areas as well. Allocation use of the funds is for the special appropriations, transfers from unassigned or assigned funds, reclassification of lapsed capital project balances. You can also talk about allocations for recommended by the Board of Finance, receive town meeting approval, and be classified as assigned. So that's really the process. We would always do the same thing now with, you're going to go out there to allocate money. I'll give a great example would be, you've got monies which is going to be needed for the Dow Bridge. If we were to ask for the monies to be allocated, we go through the process. Right now I think this was voted at $300,000 in there. My personal opinions, I don't think that's enough for what you're going to need for Dow Bridge. We are meeting, by the way, on Thursday with that, so we'll talk about alternatives in a minute. But that's some of the things you would use it for. It goes to the Board of Selectmen, or the Board of Finance, to go to a town meeting for allocation of the monies from here.
It seems like all it is housekeeping. We're going to adopt this, and then basically the Board of Finance finances it and puts the money in or not, correct?
Yep, and again, those steps. Yep. Yeah, right now it was 300. They could put more, and I guess I would liken this to, remember years ago we had the 2% set aside for the Board of Education.
Mm-hmm.
And what do they have left over at the end of the year? They can put that 2% aside.
Yeah, and that's what I thought about when you initially introduced this. I respect, of course, the opinion of the Board of Finance, and I know that they've had some preliminary discussion on it, and one of the things that they also want, this is kind of like with the medical account, is the town attorney's opinion on this account as far as how are we going about it. Is this recommended that we should approach it this way? Mm-hmm. And I respect that. In the end, it's like kind of like with the medical accounts, like I don't think it's going to be any concern there. We probably move forward, but it's one of those things of I would like to have that opinion, letterhead in hand before taking action on.
I agree, because I know they've asked a couple times.
Yep. And bottom of that, page 3 talks about what it's not going to be used for. Mm-hmm. Not going to be used for recurring operational expense, routine maintenance, and there is oversight. Obviously, we have the Board of Finance with oversight.
Is this something that, as far as the town attorney is in writing, could we have that for the next Board of Selectmen meeting?
You can ask, I can try.
Okay, or if not that one, then this other one in July.
Yep.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
So you want to table?
Yep.
Yeah, I'll entertain a motion to table.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item C, procurement policy. And the back of that grouping.
Again, procurement policy, I'm in support of. I know the numbers are outdated, we need to change them, but I would like to have a resolution or an answer to that complaint that's out there. I don't want to make any motions. Do you know anything on that?
Yes,
Okay.
there is no complaint at this point.
So what happened? It went away, it was investigated, unfounded?
I had there was we call it, Allison Cross, who is the,
Reporter?
yeah, she reached out and she said there was no investigation.
I don't believe that at all, because I was told firsthand by law enforcement that there was an investigation. I actually spoke to the chief about this, Chief Ariaga, and he told me there was an investigation. I don't know where it's at. I am not voting on anything with this procurement policy till I know. If you would like, I'll reach out to the chief again and get something from him. I'm not gonna listen to a reporter. You
So,
know,
a quick question on that, so.
it needs to be updated.
So
I don't want to change it because of how it falls.
No, it's not being, she's the one who brought this up, it's Lisa, because she knows it's outdated.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and I agree. Well, there's an active investigation, I mean, I personally am not going to vote on this anyway until I know that is done.
I have another thought on it too, which is I remember, and this is based on some of the statements that I had made when we first started talking about these policies. I had asked to get Board of Finance input on anything regarding the finances, and of course, procurement policy is something that periodically comes up with the Board of Finance. It was brought up at a Board of Finance meeting. It was very early in the budget season, and at the time, the consensus that I saw at the meeting was there was just a lot going on, obviously with the budget proposal and stuff, and nobody had really, on the Board of Finance, had really spent a lot of time reading it and just giving suggestions. Again, they're not taking action on it, to be clear. You know, I know that's going to be our decision to take action on it, but their input to me is very valuable as the Board of Finance and concerning bidding. So at the time, what they had said is they were not looking to really discuss any further until after the budget season. We're at that point now. We are now after the budget season. So I would actually like to, and I can reach out to Stephanie personally, when she creates the July Board of Finance meeting agenda, I would love to have it back on there for discussion and see. So, you know, Board of Finance members, what are your thoughts? It's outdated, it needs updates, you know, there's concerns here, whatever, and see what they have to say. If there's really no objections or anything major, I would see no issue, and then of course pending what Mike brought up to put it on a future agenda.
I think that's a good idea. If you don't mind, to have him reach out to that Board of Finance, I'll reach out to the chief, see where we stand on that, and then bring it back up, because I do support it, as long as the Board of Finance, you know, gets their questions answered also. You good with that, Kevin?
Yeah, I just, I'd like to see something in documentation about the case, which, by the way, how it was voted on is separate from the actual policy. I mean, in my mind. It was also fixed at the follow-up meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We fixed it. I agree.
I know personally, I had residents who reached out to me after they saw the headlines of, you know, that, the fact that there might be some question marks here, something being investigated regarding our bidding process, and then saw that not too long after that, this was on the agenda.
Yeah.
So,
But that item, that investigation stands on its own merit. It's not, in my opinion, not related to what we're trying to do.
I also don't want to get involved with anything or with changing or tampering with any investigation.
This isn't a tampering.
I'm not dealing with it.
All right, so I have a motion to table.
yeah, I'll make a motion to table.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay. Final one up we have is the policy approval and use of town logo on vehicles. So we've had time to review it.
Yeah, I know one change, Kevin, that I had talked to you about, which I know in the draft that I had reviewed in the binder had not been made, is that this would be a Board of Selectmen function as far as authority and discretion.
That usurps my ability. I brought that up at a follow-up meeting. You're basically saying that the function of the first selectman is taken away.
Yeah, no, that's not how I interpret it. I went back to the town charter. I mean, I'll go over the town charter with you if we need to do that. But I looked at the job description of the first selectman, job description of the Board of Selectmen, and it's completely possible. It's all about how we word it and how we adopt it as a Board of Selectmen. It doesn't take away any authority or affect your job in any way. But that's how it should be. And a lot of it is due to the fact that there's personal, obviously, conflict. with this. I mean, obviously you put yourself in that position, so I think that it would be good to have that as an authority and function of the Board of Selectmen. So that would just need to be worded in that. The other thing I know I brought to your attention is, have you reached out to any administrators of any community groups to take the town logo off unofficial town community groups on social media?
Why would I do that? It's not copyrighted.
Well, because
Anybody can come on and take that and put it on, right? Onto a logo somewhere onto social media? Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, like a community group, yeah, using the town logo. Of course, we're referring to it as the town seal, but yeah.
That's different. That's totally different. You understand that, right?
You think that's different?
Yeah.
Using the logo on social media? Misleading the public that it looks to be an official?
We're talking about, you were one of the issues of putting the logo on the side of your vehicle, correct? That was an issue that was brought up?
No, I think it's an issue that was misinterpreted by you.
I don't think so.
Well, I think so.
Well,
and I've also got another opinion about it too. From the public. I've talked to people.
Well,
I'm amazed at how many people, when they've seen it, they're just like, so where's Kevin going with this? And it's like, well, it's a personal attack. I mean,
oh, come on.
No, I'm not going to come on.
All right, so where's you got a legal opinion from an attorney you said you're going to bring?
I do not have it.
Okay, do you have an opinion from an insurance company you said you're going to bring?
I'm talking to him in the process, but I wasn't sure where you were going. You have not done any follow-up communication with me. Let's be very clear on this. What you do is you put something unannounced on an agenda, provide no additional updates and information, and then expect different results of different meetings. So that's on you. I don't know what the heck you're trying to do here, but you're certainly not acting professional. I'll make that very clear.
Tom, did you or did you not reach out to an insurance company? Because I can tell you it doesn't matter if you did or didn't, and also another lawyer. The town has an insurance company, the town has a lawyer. Both of them have the opinion that it's not correct. What you're doing is not correct.
Because you misled them, though, Kevin. That's what I found out.
Misled who?
You misled both whatever you told the town attorney and whatever you told our insurance company, you misled them. I actually find you to be more of a liability and issue here, right now, regarding this policy.
Well, I don't agree with you.
That's fine. We can agree to disagree.
Yep.
But part of the problem is, too, is your mishandling of the whole thing regarding the town employee.
Well, when you bring forth to me what I said to the insurance company, let me know.
Well, you've admitted it to me. You've admitted to me how you misled not just the two of them, but you also misled our police department.
I didn't mislead the police department whatsoever. I just asked them what they do with their vehicles after the fact.
No, you didn't explain your underlying motivation behind it. And it's a personal attack, again. And I don't know if you're aware of this, Kevin, but in the state of Connecticut, personal attack, especially from a CEO to an employee, is a very serious crime. So if I were you, I would be very careful how you handle this situation. Because that is the road that this is going down right now, is personal attack and weaponization of a policy towards a town hall employee. So I'd be glad to talk to you, but again, this is the problem, is that you have some discussion about it, then you don't say anything, you don't do anything in between meetings, and then you put it on maybe a month or two later and see, okay, so anything different? It's like...
Tom, anytime you want to come to my office and talk, it's always been an open door policy.
That's not true.
Wow.
That is not true.
All right, so
again, for me personally, maybe it's true for the public, and that's fine.
Local policy, you have a motion at this point.
I'll motion to table.
A second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Go right into a couple items. I gave you some copies of things. We want to talk first about the meeting on June 25th. We can't have all three members at part of the meeting. That constitutes a meeting.
Yeah, I get it.
Yep. I've already told Peggy that I would not be at that meeting, but the problem would still be is a party affiliation thing, because if you and I go as a caucus,
Yep.
if either of the two of us go with you, then it becomes an actual quorum.
And I get that. The concern is that on the last meeting, I know you were on the agenda, so obviously I don't know what the circumstances were as far as why you weren't at that meeting, but that was a concern that they could not cover everything they needed. And they specifically had noted, I remember in a motion, that they were going to hold off on any future discussion or action on certain items until personally having an appearance from the first selectman to be able to clarify. So, I'm willing to say this: if that means that Mike and I need to avoid that meeting in order to have you there, to fulfill the requests and needs of that committee, I am perfectly fine with skipping that meeting to do that. But what I won't be fine with is if I don't go to that meeting, and of course Mike's not there either, and if you're not there, and they don't get what they need, that I would not be good with.
Well, I can tell you right now, I told Peggy I would not be there at this meeting. I went to her today to speak to her in person about that.
Okay.
I spoke to her in person about the RFP. My suggestion was let the RFP go out, get it worked on, and then when the data comes back in, then we can sit down and talk. I already gave him a list. I told Peggy personally about the two issues that were something I had to go to executive session, but the rest of them are pretty self-explanatory about the top 10 things. I mean, my top 10 things could be one thing, but then you got other issues coming up from the other buildings.
So at the end of your discussion with Peggy, do you have any like messages, like did you put something like in writing or an email that she could read to the committee as far as response to what they were inquiring about? Because there were certain things I remember they had said that they wanted to wait to hear from you. Since you're not going to physically be there, I just want to know, are they going to get all those questions answered?
Well, things I don't know what the questions are.
Okay, but you talked to Peggy though. So.
Right, but she didn't give me a list of questions.
Okay. Have you gone back to the meeting, as far as the meeting minutes?
They're very, very generic. I gotta tell you that. They're very generic.
Okay.
That's what I'm taking away from that one, Peggy and I spoke, is that they need some questions answered, they need direction. So somebody has got to go there and answer questions and give them direction.
Right, and a couple of them were things that I think that originated from Kevin, and of course, I'm not going to be speaking, for Kevin, and neither are you. Only Kevin can speak for Kevin. So that's kind of where I remember, and then I remember them entertaining a motion saying, I just don't remember the exact wording of the motion, as far as, to table something until they were able to get their questions answered by the first selectman. And I think at the time, they were hoping at the next meeting, but...
So let me do this. Let me talk to Peggy and ask her for a list of the questions that she can gather them, and I can at least answer them for her.
Okay.
That'd be great. You're going to attend?
Well, I don't know. I may attend. I guess we'll see what happens.
As long as you work it out, so
Just let me know.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody can attend in the audience, but what she did was she put it on the agenda, and that makes it different. That was one thing. You do have two other things. I'll go with the easiest one first. We have a resident in the town of Plainfield complaining about where he lives. There was an uncovering of some fertilizer, and he thinks it's more than just chicken manure. I've already reached out to our zoning officer, pushed it all the way up to our health district. Our health district is talking about discussion with DEEP, because it might go that high up. So I'll let them deal with that and give us a report back on that. And I included the resident in those discussions.
But I don't think it's just there.
It's all over.
It's all over. It's townwide.
I had replied to the resident just thanking him for bringing it to our attention, and obviously we've mentioned it at the meetings.
Yeah, it's tough when the resident sends an email to all of us, and we shouldn't be replying back to each other.
I replied back to him also, not including you.
No.
Yep. The final one that I want to bring up is I finally got some information for service station equipment. They are the state bidder on the list. So, matter of fact, I reached out to another company who said, well, actually, I subcontract underneath them, so I can't even bid on it because these guys will be the one getting it off the state bid. So you'll see a list here, which also includes that device that they would put on. First, he called me and said, this is going to be something like $400,000, and it shocked me, and he came back and said, no, we'll work it different. So he got the list here for you, which is from service station equipment. The price for the device is $189,755. The actual work being done to remove some concrete, metal components, and install a new casing is $38,245. And so I would, bring this forward to the Board of Finance to have them review it, and we can go from there.
And we only have 200,000 budgeted right at this time.
Yeah, we have to have them approve the additional amount.
Okay.
Dow Road Bridge, I know we mentioned it earlier, but are there any updates on that?
At this time, there's a meeting on Thursday. We're going to go with the state of Connecticut. There's an alternate site. And until I get approval from them to say the name of the site, but there's an alternate site that won't be named right now. We're going to look at that to see if it is something we can do to help with the stream flow. It's the same, believe it or not, the same road, but it's a little different location. It is, I think there was mention of a temporary bridge. That is something that would require either Army Corps of Engineers or the state of Connecticut to assist us with. But that is something I don't see happening over there. Because the way you have to lay it down in that area would still compromise the bridge itself. So we're working on different alternative plans right now, but that's where it stands. Like, I'll let you know after Thursday what's going on with it. Hopefully we'll have some good answers. The only thing is, you know, it's going to cost more. We've had 5 years of this being in a pipeline with different entities adding on to the issues. The last one obviously was the deep Fish and Game, and they're the ones who basically put the brakes on it. We will continue to, I think right now what you have over that bridge is not the temporary stuff, but actually the 20-foot jolly block that blocks off the area. Which I gotta say, when it was the temporary stuff and we were waiting for the okay to move, put the jolly block, people were moving it off to the side and driving through. You know, that's their opinion about something and saying that they're going to just go ahead and do it, but that also puts everybody else who comes later on at risk.
Right.
So I didn't think that was appropriate. We tried putting it up, put the jolly block up as soon as possible. So again, when I find out what's going on with the meeting after Thursday, I will give you guys updates.
And nothing on the trash plant?
Yes, I have a meeting tomorrow. I have multiple entities for the trash plant who are talking. I've got two attorney groups at this time. I have some resident representation who will help us out with the information putting out to the public. We have placed the first bit of our paperwork in. We were told that they put their papers in with the state of Connecticut for the actual plant. They had not. So, but it will be intervenor status as soon as that occurs. So that is where we stand with that. We look to gather the information about who can help with getting information from the different entities that are around the state and around the country to see if we can get their information to fight the whole process. And my personal issues are, you've got concerns with how much truck traffic is going to affect our town. That is not 130 trucks a day. That is going to be much more than that. But that's what they're saying up front. 130 in, 130 out. The other thing is that there's two entranceways in, so again, it's going to affect our side streets on Black Hill and off the highway. The other issues that we have, they're bringing in trash. Household trash would attract different types of insect and rodent. That's another concern. We also have the possibility of PFAS being created because of what's going up in the stack. You also have the fact that it's creating methane gas because they're taking the organic materials and putting it into anaerobic digester. How is that being processed and how is it being safely either bottled or piped out? The next one is when it comes to the ash flow. They're taking out the ash in a truck and putting a tarp cover over the back, driving it on their property to the rails going inside of a building. Once you're inside the building, they dump it into the rails and put a cover on that. Then they wash the truck out. To be concerned about the truck having to be washed off is my concern. What's really wrong with the ash? Is there something that we don't know about? And then going back and picking up more loads. And then where's the water going from that? So there are a lot of concerns we have, and I think the town spoke loud and clear. We had that non-binding advisory question.
Yeah, 93%.
Yeah. So we'd love to be able to within a week or two, come up with a way we can actually share with the public what's going on, where we are at the stage at this point, where they can send their letters to. Here's the phone numbers for your city council members or the governor's office or whomever. Be able to say, in grouping. We're also working with Northeast Council of Governments because they want to write a letter as well. We're also looking for Last Green Valley to do the same. So it's not just the town of Plainfield, it is the region.
And I think it needs to be on our website where everybody can get that information.
Right.
It's very fast,
And that's the idea, is put a link to where they're going to go to be able to find that info.
And we also need to discuss too, on number one, obviously, getting monies free for us to do things, and also if we're going to use an outside attorney, like
We are.
Mr. Morantz or whoever
We are,
else?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I reached out to planning and zoning chair and also wetlands chair, and that's the name that came up.
Yeah.
So Mr. Grants also has an associate that works very well with the siting council, and of course our land use guy, so, Rich Cody. So that's the team I'd like to go with right now, and you're right, the next step after that is, here's the information, what are your feelings on it, because we have to go to a town meeting to say how much money we're gonna allocate from our fund balance.
Right.
But before we do that, we're gonna have an informational meeting.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yep.
So is our goal at basically like, would it be like late July or late August, do you think, to?
It's gonna take a few weeks just to get this particular group going with
Yeah.
what we have to do for next steps, and then to be able to create a website, a link off of Facebook possibly, and be able to get that information out there. It's gonna take a few weeks as well, working together with those other Coalition Zero groups to help us with data. So at least we have some volunteers in town that are willing to do that and can do that, so.
And Attorney Cody and Grants have already given us verbals that they work with us on our side.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we just definitely gotta be in the habit of going forward each month, at least one of our meetings. I think we should have it on the agenda, but it doesn't necessarily require action at that particular, just updates. Because what happens is, people read our agenda, and so what I was getting messages on, or texts or emails was, why aren't you guys discussing or why aren't you working on this? And obviously, you've made it clear, Kevin, we are working on it. The thing is, if they see that we're gonna bring up updates and discuss at the selectmen's meeting, they see it listed in the agenda, then they can see, well, clearly we're gonna discuss it, so if you watch the meeting.
All right, every other week I can put it up as on other for smart technology.
Yeah, just so that
Okay.
way they know we're working on it. The only other thing I had was just to mention about the Declaration of Independence that's coming up, that reading.
July 9th.
So July 8th, Wednesday, July 8th, 5:30 at Rotary Park. Just want to encourage the public to be there. I know I'm going to be there, Mike, I don't know if you can make it or not. But,
Reading starts at 6 prompt.
mhm.
My only other thing is, under other, is we need better communication. I hope that you use every vacation day that you have coming to you. Last week you were gone, off grid, unplugged, good for you. But I had a few people and some employees reach out to me because they weren't getting definitive answers. I looked up the town charter, obviously, under 6.4, B1. Basically, if you go away or whatever, it's up to you to designate. You can designate Tom, you can designate anybody in charge. And I don't care who's in charge. It's just if something big happens and you are unable to get a hold of, somebody's got to make the decisions for the best of the town of Plainfield, or call an emergency meeting or whatever it may be. And this really wasn't a big decision, just an employee needed to know when they should report to work or not.
I got the same text message.
I'm sorry?
I got the same text message.
Okay. I included the chief of police because the chief of police, obviously is involved with that and appoints the person. And I made a decision, but I think we have to have just better communication. If something happens, it's not good to be in the lurch.
Yeah, that person took it, I'll talk about that, but that person took it upon themselves to reach out to everybody. But failed to do step one in the whole process.
Okay, but maybe the employee didn't do the right thing, but obviously we need to have better communication. If you're gone, we don't
always
care where you
available.
go, you gotta let us know so we know, all right, you may be unavailable.
I'm always available, every single vacation. I've always gotten texts and emails and reply back to those always. So,
Yeah, but I agree with Mike, there's the what-if situation of.
well, I've gone more of distance-wise. I'm going to make sure that we have this, next in command. But I was only 2.5 hours away, so I had no problem with making that.
Yeah, but again, regardless of the distance and the timing and all that, I agree there's the what-if situation. Your phone could have a major malfunction. There could be a complete network shutdown, and at that point, there's no way in hell you can be, in charge that many hours away and not be accessible by phone. And so we got to think about those what-if situations. I know personally, I was in the dark. I had no idea. I mean, that's great. You're taking your vacation time. You're entitled to it. Good for you. But a courtesy email or individual text just saying, hey, just FYI, I'm gone, so if you need to call me or, whatever, it's like, that would have been nice. So, for the future.
And I won't be at the WPCA meeting Monday night that you're aware of, correct?
Yes, so the two of us can take care.
I will let Lisa know.
And unfortunately, the way that one went was they put in RFPs late.
Right.
So I'm hoping they all come in. We had 2 openings today. We had think we had anybody that bid on one of them. Anything else? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
7:54.